Can orchestras bring people, animals, landscapes, and stories to life using music? Antonio Vivaldi thought so. Around 300 years ago, when he wrote The Four Seasons, he was one of the first people to compose music that was designed to remind listeners of places and things in the world around them. Structurally broken into chapters of spring, summer, autumn, and winter, The Four Seasons is a group of 4 concerts, each of which gives musical expression to a season of the year. The music brings images of seasonal poems to life through clever use of different timbres of instruments and methods of musical composition. We will focus on winter today, the last chapter of Vivaldi's masterpiece, the musical piece that director Sriram Raghavan chooses for the climax of his criminally underrated Merry Christmas, that released last year around this time. We wished but were unable to talk about the beauty of Merry Christmas last year. We had plans for an interview with Raghavan himself, which did not eventually materialize. But as we were working on the list of the best films of 2024, rewatching them to a certain order, we felt we had to share our love for the film with all of you. Subtle nuances beyond the obvious romance and thrills of the film that make Merry Christmas a masterpiece. There were sonnets, arguably written by Vivaldi himself, to accompany his concerts for the 4 seasons. And this is how the sonnet for winter starts. Frozen and shivering in the icy snow, under the battering of a terrible wind, run stamping your feet every moment, teeth chattering in the cold. The initial musical notes of winter are supposed to replicate the feelings as in these 4 lines. The icy wind is created by rushing runs of violin notes, creating a swirling movement. Leaping violin notes give a sense of people stamping, and chattering teeth are represented by repeated fast tremolo notes of the solo violin. Allegro non molto, as in Italian, is mentioned to be the pace of this section, which suggests a brisk pace but not too fast. And now, let us consider the initial premise set up for the film, as Raghavan introduces us to Albert and Maria, 2 bruised souls failed in love as they seek to find shelter in each other. For Albert, it is some warmth and company of the feminine, something lost from his life for long. For Maria, it is in the seek out for an alibi, to earn freedom for herself and her infant daughter. They meet by chance and walk up together into Maria's flat quite early into the film, as if the film moves in the Allegro non molto pace of Vivaldi's tunes. And then comes a much longer and more warmer phase as Albert and Maria get to know each other for better. This might be the section of the film that got chunk of the audience impatient, as the winter night of Christmas Eve brings the 2 lives together in an old world Bombay, and they share their camouflage stories, burn a few paper swans together for the wishes to come true, and dance their heart out without knowing what happens next from here on. This is not a pace at which thrillers run on screen today, but Sriram Raghavan is just not any other filmmaker either, as his narrative mimics a classical concert rather than running behind cheap thrills, as this is the section which runs at largo pace as in Vivaldi's Winter, the middle section that is supposed to run slow in a dignified style. And what does Vivaldi's sonnet say for this section? Well, here's how it goes. Spend calm and happy moments by the fire, while outside the rain sprinkles everyone. I hope by now you get how the screenplay of Merry Christmas resembles Vivaldi's Winter, the essence of the cold season, which also makes us understand the value of warmth. Like the shadows of the climbing lift falls on Albert and Maria's face as they smile at each other and enter into the murder scene. Edward Gregg's In Hall of the Mountain King plays as Albert comes into Maria's apartment. The incidental music of Henrik Ibsen's play Peer Gynt, an ironical ballad of isolated individuals in a mass society, infused with the tale of 2 seemingly incompatible lovers. And that reminds us how surprised we were when we heard about the pairing of Vijay Sethupathi and Katrina Kaif in a Sriram Raghavan film. The most unlikely combo, one must say. And then as we look at the film at hindsight, we understand how the theme of the story is also ingrained in this choice. Of 2 actors not so fluent in Hindi cast in a Hindi thriller set in Bombay, of 2 most unlikely people meeting by chance led by coincidence and circumstances. It mimics the beauty or improbability of life, perhaps. But we are also aware of the devastating consequence of the unlikely pairing of Sethupathi and Tapsi Pannu in Annabelle Sethupathi as well. So perhaps it's all about the genius of Sriram Raghavan, as nothing in his film is not thought and in fluke. Be a James Hadley Chase novel in Johnny Gaddar, or be Ayushmann Khurrana singing Tere Galiyon Mein in Andhadhun. No prop, no point in Sriram Raghavan movie is just for the sake of it. Dig onto the cues and you will find gold, as we found here in Merry Christmas's use of music. And with that, let us move to the second half of the film, and to the heart-melting climax where Vivaldi's Winter actually plays in the background. Walking on the ice with hesitant steps, by being careful lest you fall. Jump in haste, slip and fall to the ground. Get back on the ice and run. Thus goes the next lines for Winter, as the tunes now start playing in allegro, the fast pace. With the expositions over and facades down, we now find Albert and Maria hastily trying to cover up all the evidence to ensure the numbness of the winter of their lives fades away for all. There's this exceptional romanticism and surreal beauty in watching two broken hearts standing by each other to burn down a house, one burning down her past and the other burning out a possible future. Once this is all over, maybe we can meet, Maria says, as Albert comforts her in saying, sometimes it is better to choose violence over sacrifice. Sometimes. Things move, the investigations start, and all characters of our play, or rather film, or the concert at heart, assemble in the final act at the police station. Albert and Maria almost fetch out a fairy tale out of their destined meeting before the final gusts of winter wind strike again. How heartbreaking can it be that the fairy tale that Albert had made up for Annie, Maria's daughter, comes alive in real life, and that shatters the fairy tale journey that Albert was on the verge to undergo. But Albert is no chest-thumping hero of our recent times. He's the old-school romantic of Sriram Raghavan's concert, from Bombay, the Maya Nagari it once used to be. Not violence but sacrifice he chooses for himself as he puts the ring on Maria's finger in silent proclamation of his feelings. A surrender in love that the lady alone understands. As for the rest, it serves as the surrender of crime. As the silent sequence moves and the camera captures the expressions of each character, Vivaldi plays in the background as Winter's allegro notes play, as the final lines of the sonnet comes in mind. In case the ice cracks and opens, to hear leaving their screened house Sirocco Boreas and all the winds in battle. It's winter, but it brings joy. It's winter to which Albert surrenders that brings him joy, as the final frame freezes for Vijay Sethupathi's smiling face. Winter that pierces us through, freezes us in time, and also wishes us Merry Christmas. Well, that is all from us today. Thank you for watching. If you like our content, please consider subscribing.